'cause Lord knows that you weren't the cheating kind. Well, that's why it came as a surprise, seeing his reflection in your eyes. Oh, as I lay across this filthy bunk, I hope time passes faster when you're drunk. These days I walk along these lonely halls, taking stock of all those things that fall. For every day I brew this nasty swipe, when the bulls come round I hide it in a pipe. I toss and turn and pray to win this funk, and hope time passes faster when you're drunk. Well, they sent me up for shooting you, my dear. Next 50 years I'll be dying for a beer. Oh, I can't tell if this pain will ever end, and set this beer-starved heart back on a mend. Well, as I lay across my nasty bunk, I hope time passes faster. I hope time passes faster. I hope time passes faster when you're drunk.
Volume! Volume is on! Volume I have begun, it has begun! That's my hand. It has begun! Greetings! Are you ready to have your minds blown? It's not going to be any blowing minds, I'm sorry. This is just kind of, I don't know, it's what it is. It is what it is. I want to see if I actually am on camera here. Am I on camera? Do I need to adjust anything? Can you see my shrouded in shadow self? Hang on. So, as promised to no one, we're gonna go through this card game that magically appeared on my door step one day. No, I invented this, unfortunately. So this is what the whole project's about. This is the whole shebang, the whole caboodle, cabozzle is a thing. Ooh, wait, do I have anything in here that's dangerous for me? No, I don't. I put my email on that. I used to have contact information on it, so I was going to use it as a business card. We're just going to show this to you. This was going to be my business card. And then, oh, damn it. So automatically, if this is on YouTube, it's a good thing it's not. So this is going to be my business card, and it had my phone number and all my contact. And I was like, do I really want that getting out? Do I really, really want that getting out? And I decided putting an email is probably sufficient. And here's the key, right? This is the email for the game. So it's not even my personal email. So I ain't crazy. Anyway, so that was, so that changed. Anyway, there's nothing. And then I got the box. You want to see the box? This was like the poorly designed. I wanted to make it look like, you remember back in the days when you got Dirty magazine. I think I went through this. You get dirty magazines, you come in a little plain brown wrapper so you can't see what's inside. I wanted to kind of have that for this, the, what is this, what are we calling this, the prototype version. And then, of course, down here at the bottom, if you look real close, it says, not suitable for children or the easily offended. So today's the day we do the game. How lucky are we? All right. Anyway, I have about 110 cards that I made for the game. And out of the 110 cards, only a small proportion of them have actual artwork on them. I believe these are the ones you're looking at them right here. Well, that one's got some artwork on it too. But it's not final artwork. That one has some artwork, but it's not final artwork. And that one has some artwork. It's not final artwork. Everything else you'll notice is just a plain brown wrapper because that's the project. That's what I'm working on, is get the artwork done. And oh my, I must have bent that when I was playtesting. Oh well, nothing's perfect. I'm the only one that owns a copy of this right now, by the way. You can download these things for free. I am still looking for playtesters that are willing to take a little bit of time to take a look at the rules and take a look at the game and run through it and keep running through it and stress test the hell out of it. That's what I really need, is stress testing. I want to know what broken combos can be made. I want to know how to break the game. That's the kind of people I'm looking for. That can do that and not do this all by myself, because I'm doing literally everything else. I'm not bitching. It's just how it is. It's almost like this is an artistic project at this point. It's not even, I don't even know if this is a commercial project or can be possibly a commercial project. I mean, so many of these things, they just fail. They just fail. I'm just doing this simply as an artistic project and a giant middle finger to pretty much the established world. You don't tell me what to say. I tell you. No, that's not true either. Anyway, let's go over the game a little bit, shall we? Let's dive in. Let's go head first. I need to drink water first, though. So I'm just going to dive over here real quick and get a little bit of water in me here. All right, so now that I've clashed up the joint, I'm glad I have the rule book. It has been a long time. It's been at least a year since I've actually looked over this rule book and gone through the rules for this. So we're going to be learning together how to play this game. Now, I've been kind of on a fence on this for a little bit. There are two games in this book, two rules, but the rules intertwine. So what we have is a basic game and we have an advanced game. The basic game is primarily the backbone for how the whole thing plays, with basically everything else cut out. It goes through just the basic stuff. And we're going to do that first. We're going to go through. First, let's go over some of this stuff here. All right. So, this is a game. I'm going to read my introduction for everyone. Let's start this off. We started off with a quote. What's it going to be then, eh? The very nearly titled Clown World, the Trading Card Game, is a game of satire, pop culture, and verbal fisticuffs, with sometimes actual fisticuffs. Win the game by depleting your opponent's deck, or, when words fail, beat them to a bloody pulp using cards, simulating physical combat, if you prefer. This is a card game, a trading card game, a collectible, competitive trading card game where the gameplay is serious while the cards themselves are not. Some may find the contents herein quite disturbing, perhaps even offensive. If you are of the easily offended persuasion, we strongly suggest please turn immediately this rulebook to its very last page, close this book, return this book to the interior of the box whence it came, grasp this box securely in your strong hand, and shove it in its entirety directly up your ass. It will fit. We've designed it to. with the proper dimensions that it might, and utilizing sufficient force. It may be, quite frankly, the least interesting thing you've ever inserted there. Sorry, Buttercup. This game is not for you. Sincerely signed, the committee. That's the introduction. On to the game. All right, so in the beginning were words. As you'll notice, we've got cards with words on them. How strange a concept, you say to yourself. Cards with words, you say. Yes, I know, it's an ingenious idea. I came up with it all myself. All right, anyway, so all the cards have a word at the top. You have a little title up here. These cards with words at the top, those are gameplay elements. Those are actually elements you can use to play the game. And I will explain to you how. Names. Right? You'll notice at the top here, we've got this little bar. Let's bring it in close so the camera might see it. All right, you'll see this is the basic. Let's get a pretty card. Let's get one that's got some artwork. Let's see this one. I like this one. This is one of my yeah, they're all my artwork. What am I talking about? Except for one. There's one in here that's not my artwork. I'll let everybody guess which one it is. All right, anyway, so we get that in camera. All right, so you see this one here. This is called Seek. You're gonna notice these up here. We got the ball. That's got a number in it, and we got a little box next to it. This is the cost box or the cost ball, and that is going to be your point box. That's how much this card is worth in gameplay, technically speaking. So we're going to go through some of the basics then. So we've got our point cost here. That's what it costs to play the card. And the next one over here, that is the amount of points you get. And we'll get to the points and how to tally points in this game in a moment. Then we've got, like every other card in a collectible card game, we've got its type, which is a gotcha card. And we've got its card effects box, which has, in this case, Seek. Name a card, search your deck, and add it to your hand. Show to opponents, and discard 2 cards. Or, gives you a choice, discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards. All right, so we're not going to go into the gameplay elements yet. That stuff here, the gameplay box, we're going to pretend that doesn't exist. We're going to pretend the gotcha doesn't exist. The only thing we're going to be worried about for the basic game is going to be these top portions, these bottom portions, which will be the exact mirrored opposite. So you'll notice it is the same on both sides. That is just a design choice to make it slightly easier for both sides to see what's going on the table, right? So these are the only areas where you're actually going to be worried about. Gotcha effects, any card effect, only the title of the card, the point box, and the point box and the cost ball. Let's just say that. The cost ball, point box, title. Those are the only things we're going to worry about for the basic game. So, just to start off, this game, I designed it to be at its smallest format, easily playable with any version of a debater, which is one of these cards with the double sides on it. These are going to be like your avatar, but you could also use the rulebook, which also has stats, that line here. These are the stats you're going to need for gameplay of either of the 2 games, either the basic game or the advanced game. So that's how that works. And you'll notice the back side has a flip version. This is the rulebook enraged, and it's got different stats. And we'll get into the meanings of these things. The mysterious meanings of these strange stats. But, like I was saying, the way I designed it was you can play a full game with just a booster pack and a rulebook. I wanted to do mini tournaments, like the smallest scale you could possibly have for a game for the least amount of cost. Literally go into a store, you and your friend both buy a booster pack. You open the booster pack, and here's the idea as I advanced to, I want the booster packs to also have these stats on both sides so that you literally would not even have to have a rule book. You could literally just play a full game. It'll take you about 5 minutes to do a game. It's a real quick game. And the booster pack itself will have everything you need to play a full game on it without buying a starter box. That was the idea I had. Mini tournaments. Booster draft, giving a whole new meaning to booster draft, by the way. No drafting, simply just a booster tournament. You just buy a booster, everybody buys the booster, you pitch in. Low cost booster. It's going to have 15. I want to have 15 card boosters. Going back to old school. 15 card boosters. You open up a booster, you play a game. You can even do it with 9 cards. It doesn't even matter. The amount of cards is arbitrary. Is arbitrary. Whatever the booster size, that's the game you play. We'll even test that. We'll even go into testing that when we get into some of the gameplay. But we're going to just do a breakdown of some of the cards here. So, as you'll notice, all these cards have a variation of the same thing, including what we would call our avatar cards or our debater cards. This is Alex Jones. He's one of my debaters. You'll notice he's got stats on both sides, right? But he also has a cost ball and a point box. Well, where's the title? You might. Well, that's going to be his name right here. Alex Jones Enraged or Alex Jones. That's actually going to be a gameplay. You can use that in gameplay. Because the whole purpose of this game is to make a sentence using cards that are randomly drawn into a hand from a deck. That's the purpose of the game. So, as you can see, everything in the game can be cross-compatible. 15 cards, there's not going to be a card you can't use. There's never going to be a card in the thing you can't use in a 15-card booster pack. There'll never be anything you have to pull out and say, well, I got this character here and I can't use it. Oh, I got this color over here. And man, I wish, and then you end up drafting and stuff like that. And drafting, you can get even more in depth because as you notice, let's go back to Alex Jones here. Just to go through some of these avatars. We're going to go through the avatar first because this is your main character. You choose this guy for constructed play. You choose it. Sometimes you get one in a pack. We'll have a rule for tournaments. If you get one in a pack, you may choose to use a debater you get in a booster pack in the tournament at the cost of one less card in your deck. Balancing it out, giving you more power, but also at a little bit of a disadvantage. So I did think about some stuff. There was some thought going on. Anyway, so you'll notice Alex Jones here. This starts off here. This is his non-aggressive side. This is his normal side. This is the side you would start with in a game. You'll notice he's got 3 stats here, as well as what we went over here. We got the cost ball here. We got the point box here. We've got his name right here. All those things apply. But then we look at this line here that goes down. This is our arc stats. Our arc stats on our main character here will be you'll choose one of these in constructed, and like I said, you find one in a booster pack, you play with that if you choose to at a disadvantage. But you get to play one of these guys, and we got a couple that I started off with. I've always meant to do more, but this is the Tim Pool set unofficially, as we're calling it, which also technically is kind of the Magic the Gathering set, but we'll get into that later and why I do that. Anyway, so satire, man, I can make fun of whatever I want. Anyway, so we've got our arc stats here. Arc stands for aggression, retention, and composure. All right? The easiest way to think of this is aggression is attack. Composure is defense. Retention is how many cards you draw during your turn. So Alex Jones on this side would have the ability to attack for 9 stats. And basically what that means in the gameplay is that playing with Alex Jones allows you to play 9 cost balls worth of cards during your round of the turn. Okay? That comes up. Retention is how many cards you draw for that round of the turn. So you would draw 9 cards. Out of those 9 cards, you would have 9 points that you could pay on other cards. Like, for instance, let's grab pretty cards because we have them here. We got this nice stack of cards here. Let's go ahead, and I haven't shuffled this, and it doesn't matter if I shuffle it or not, because I only have one of each card. So we're gonna see a broad spectrum of different cards here. So let's say we got Alex Jones here, and we'll get into a full gameplay. We're just going to go through some of the basics just to get people worked up, and then we'll start doing a full game. So We got Alex Jones. He's going to be your avatar. We're going to pretend that we have everything else here is in our deck. So we'll just add everything back into our deck. Actually, you know what? Why not shuffle? Why not? We're going to keep the rule book here just in case I need it. Because remember, we're learning together. It's a team effort. Team effort. You guys are doing great, by the way. Doing great. I love it. Love what you've done to your hair. Your hair? Yeah. Are your eyes always that brilliant? Anyway, screw it. Anyway, moving on. All right, so shuffling unsleeved cards that are a one-of-a-kind item. Yeah. One of these days, this is going to be put up for auction on an eBay listing, and it's going to start at 99 cents. And honestly, odds are pretty good that it might make it as high as $1. All right, so that's enough shuffling. We've shuffled enough. Anyway, so you'll notice that some of the double-sided cards you actually can see. The idea is people are going to use sleeves. Who doesn't use sleeves now? Come on, seriously. So you just put your cards in sleeves. You don't have to worry about that. With some of the double, there are some rules that go along with using these guys in your deck, but you can use them in your deck for constructed. There are some rules we'll get into going. This is not going to, I don't think this is going to be one video type of thing. I think we're going to get, today we're going to get the basic game down. And then we start with the advanced game, which is the official like collectible card game experience for it. So in this case, though, we're going to pretend that that is just in there and it is just a thing. We're going to still draw it as a card. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So those would be our 9 cards that we would have for our hand. Now, how this works. All right. Sequence of play for the basic game. Oh, I have a page for that. Basic game sequence of play. Okay, so it works like this. Alex Jones here has 9 aggression. He has 9 retention, and he has a 5 for composure. All right, composure we'll get into later. For the basic game, it kind of does something. We'll get into that. So, just as an example of how gameplay starts, and then we're going to go into a full game between, we'll put 2 arbitrary debaters down, and we'll have a little basic game with it. And even, you know what? We'll even make it even more fun than that. We're going to do a 15 card in each deck basic game, just to show you it can be done with the basic game. It can also be done with the advanced game. Both can be done the same way. The advanced game gets a lot more complex. I'm not going to lie to you. There are some nuances to this. You can play. Now, here's the beauty of it. You can play an advanced game as though you are using the basic rules. You are going to be at a disadvantage, but sometimes that might be the proper play. I want to leave it up to the players to determine what strategies to use and when to use them. Sometimes you might want to do one thing versus something a little more complicated, but I leave it open to the cards for the player to interpret what their strategy is. Because a lot of these things, they have double abilities. Like, for instance, actually everything in this has a double ability right off the bat. You can play the basic game with it, and you can play the advanced game with it. That's basically how that works. So, a lot of cross-pollination of abilities. It's a little tricky getting used to it. When I was playing it, it was a blast, but I was doing it with myself. I was playing with myself. They say that if you shake it more than 3 times, you're playing with yourself. Anyway, we're going to move on from that. We're going to move on. You shake it more than 3 times, you're playing with it. All right, anyway. Okay, so in this hand, we've got these cards. And I'm going to lay them out here so everybody can see what they are. And I, of course, will read them off. And we'll go through some of that stuff. So this is his hand. This is Alex Jones's hand. And he might be able to not see all of them, I think. What's on this side? We got everything? No, we're missing one over here. So we'll bring that up. That was okay. That was okay. So this is his hand. All right. Now, he's got an aggression of 9, which means he can play 9 points worth of stuff. right? For the basic game, these little symbols here are your buddies, right? Think of these as your wheelhouse. This is his specialties. These are the cards that he's going to have. He's going to have, let's say, an advantage playing. So if it's got the little silver hat, if it's got the anarchy symbol on it with the yellow, or if it's got the poo-poo in the brown, those are his specialties. And what those stand for, and we'll go through some of these too, is he's going to be a conspiracy theorist, an anarchist, and a bullshit artist simultaneously. Now, you'll notice that the cards will have those little wheels on the side here. This one's a fun one. We're going to get to this one because this is fun. This one, you can use it for conspiracy theorists, bullshit artists, anarchists. You can use it for conservatives. You can use it for moderates. Moderates. Yes, that is a. We'll get into that. The symbols. We'll get into the symbols later. I never did an official like art showcase on the symbols. I hand painted all of those and I shrunk them down real small so nobody can see it what they are. But we'll get into that one of these days. But yeah, so now in this one you'll also notice that we're the liberal one, the blue. Let's try to settle that in, man. It is not focusing in, and I'm doing a terrible job of aiming. All right, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a blue one with a little a null cross out on it. That means that liberals cannot use this card under any circumstances. If your character has the liberal symbol on the side here, he cannot use this card. It becomes a wasted card in his hand. Now you'll notice both sides don't have the same symbols. Some characters you're going to have, or some of your avatars you're going to have, will have, say, like a liberal on this side and then a conservative on this side. Well, this side's up, he can't use this card. But once he flips over, he can use this card. And this card, strangely enough, can be used by everybody except for liberals. It is called free speech. What if I was saying something there? I don't know. It'd be a little joke instead of a joke. Anyway, so back to what we were doing. We've got him here. He can use 9 points. And that is funny because he can choose to use one COVID-19. He can play that on the board. And that is the beginning of an argument. Now, one round of this is called a debate. Or not a round, one turn, I should say, is a debate. Turns are separated into rounds. The rounds go back and forth between players. I think we have enough information to move on to the basic game. So I'm going to go ahead and we got that set up. But for instance, I think it's better if we just jump into the game and we kind of move that way instead of doing this little preview, whatever the shit I was just doing here. We're going to move on. We're moving on. All right. We're going to keep Alex Jones out here on the board. And let's see, who should we use? Who would be fun? Because I have about 4 avatars right now. We'll skip that one because that one's a little bit more of an advanced game card. But I mean, it definitely works for this one. But I wouldn't use him as an avatar. That's definitely for constructed. He's meant to be like a rare or something like that. Do I only have 3? Oh, where's mine at? I want mine. I'll take my stupid business card out of here for now. Where the hell did it go even? It's got to be in here somewhere. Maybe if I flip it over, I'll be able to see it because it's got 2 sides. Oh, there it is right on top. What am I doing? I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. All right, so just for funsies, let's do it. Let's do a debate between Tim Pool and Alex Jones. These are going to be our 2 guys. This is going to be the fight. Okay, so Tim Pool is going to start off. He's going to be normal. Alex Jones is going to start off. He's going to be normal. They both have an enraged side. You'll notice Alex Jones is enraged on this side, and Tim Pool is enraged on this side. So, but at the beginning of the game, you're going to start off with both very calm debaters. Nobody's offended either person yet, and we can start with the game. I'm going to keep the debaters out just because they kind of get a little confusing when you have it in there, but they can technically be in there for when you're playing. And I said, let's do a 15 card kind of test game for, like, say, a 15 card booster pack. So we got one card out on the board already. So we'll just need 14 cards apiece. So let's do that. There's going to be 1, 2, and that's 14. Just going to double check real quick. Okay, there's 14 there. And 14 here should be 1, 2. Ooh, 1 second. 1, 2. Okay, 14 there, 14 there. Right, so this is like literally we went to a store, we bought a booster pack apiece, and 2 players are about to go at for the basic game. All right, so like we went over, we've got our aggression, our retention, and our composure, otherwise known as the arc stats. Now, you might be asking yourself at this point, we're just going to get into a little digression here, but you might be asking a game that's called the Clown World, the TCG. You might be asking yourself, why didn't you use, instead of arc, why didn't you just use car? I thought it was a little on the nose. Anyway, moving on. I'll give you a minute to catch up on that one. Worst dad joke I'll have tonight. Okay, so back to the game. Now, how you would normally define who goes first, it's going to be according to who has the higher aggression. So in this case, Alex Jones would go first. You might think this is an advantage, but it's not always an advantage going first in this game. Sometimes it's a disadvantage. So Alex Jones has a 9 retention, and that's how much information, think of it this way, how much information he retains. So we're going to draw out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right? Now, the way the game would work is both players would drop their hands at the same time. They both would have a hand. Because in the advanced game, you are allowed defensive actions. In the basic game, there is no real defensive action. It's basically just an advanced game of war. And I'll show you what we're getting to. Kind of a little bit. It's like war with an ad lib kind of event to it, a little bit. There's a little more technically advanced than war, but it is, like I said, very basic. That's why we called it the basic game. So in Tim Pool's case here, he's got retention of 8. So we're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You'll notice asymmetric gameplay right off the bat. All right, so Alex Jones gets to go first, so he will technically look at his hand first. He has an aggression of 9. All right? So, he's got a bunch of choices for cards here. Have you ever played Scrabble? The first thing I'm going to ask you, you can play this game without even looking at the word and just playing a card down. But you won't be the most efficient at it. The idea of the game is he who has the best argument wins, the most cohesive argument. So sentence structure comes into play in this game. Now, we do have a couple rules regarding sentence structure. The basic rule is this: if it makes sense, it's sensical. If it doesn't make sense, it's not sensical. We call sentences that make sense steelmen. We call sentences that do not make sense straw men. All right? Follow with. Alex Jones's case, we've got a handful of cards here. And what I'm going to look for, in the basic game, mind you, is I'm going to look for little sentences that I can play and spend 9 points on, that make or begin to make a sentence that might make sense in the future. Now, you can plan out your sentences. We've got 100 Biden. They've got a list of proper noun. We got right, left. Some of these cards, you'll notice, have 2 different words on it. They can be used for either of those words when you play them. Some of them will even have different point costs depending on which one you use. The basic game that I built so far does not have any cards like that, but the idea was to always have that as an option. So like you see, right on this side, left on this side, you can literally choose which one you want to use. For this one here, we've got a 2, 2, or a 2. You can choose any one of those to be the word in your sentence that you would use. So two meaning one thing, two with two O's meaning another, and the word TWO meaning the number or the numerical two. So you'll see some cards like that. There are actually a few cards like that in here where the word itself can mean two different things. Because don't you just love the English language? One of my favorites is project or project. Project or project. See what I mean? It can mean two different things. Stuff to think about. You'll have that option in the game. It won't always be on the card for you to tell you what you can do. We want you to kind of think about things a little bit when you're making sentences. How would I ever want Americans to want to know how sentence structure works? I don't know. I'm a madman. All right, so we got underbite in here. We got a 2, 2, or a 2. We got a right or a left. We've got a Joe Biden cyborg. Joe Biden, I should say, cyborg. We've got a card for Twitter. We got a DOJ. We got a woke. We got a seek. We got a threaten. These are the words that we have to use to make a sentence. And you can make, you know, I have 9 points to use to make any sentence I want. Out of the cards I have in my hand, using these cards. So let's say here. I'm going to say Joe Biden sidewalk for 4 points. Seek for 2. That brings us up to 6. Now here's the thing. We have a rule for suffixes in this game. And if you don't know what a suffix is, allow me to elaborate here. The rule for suffixes such as s, making it plural, ed, lee, shun, or any others that can be added to words if allowed by the word itself. Okay? If a suffix can be added to a word, term, or phrase, name, or title, then it may be added for free to each exception. All right? By the controller of the argument. If it cannot, then it may not be added. And what this means is if I have a card like this one that says seek, I can add an S to that and it becomes seeks. I can add a shun to it and it becomes complete gibberish, but I can add an S to it and it becomes seeks. So we can add a suffix to it. Being that I am now starting this, I am now controlling it, I can choose to add that suffix, making it make sense potentially later down the road. If, however, though, I had a card that already said seeks with an S or is plural, I would not be able to add a suffix to it or take a suffix away. I hope that makes sense. So if you can add a suffix to it, you may. If you cannot, if it already has a suffix on it, then it is locked in. Just think of it that way. You have to use it as is. So if this was a seeks, it would have been perfect. But since it's just a seek, it's still perfect because I can add a suffix to it. So Joe Biden, cyborg, seeks. Let's see what else we can do. It's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, I'm a point short. Damn it. Oh, Joe Biden seeks. Okay, let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so now here's the rule with the ball, like the points. If you have left over, you don't save them up. They just go away. They vanish. So if I can only spend 9 points, or if I choose to only spend 8 out of 9 points, I lose that additional point. But sometimes you might want to do that. Remember, not all the time are you going to want to play all the cards because your opponent's going to have a chance to play after you. And whoever has the last card on this sentence that I'm making gets control of it, and thus potentially gets the points for it. So I'm going to be strategic here, and I'm going to put Joe Biden cyborg, seeks 2, and it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Joe Biden seeks 2. Right now, this sentence doesn't make sense, so it is considered to be a straw man argument. But my turn is done. I'm basically toasting that last card. And I'm saying it's now the opponent's turn. And it's now Tim Pool's turn to go into it. his side of this. Now, Tim Pool has a couple options. He's got his own hand of cards. He's only got 8 points to spend. Right? Now, I should go over something real quick here before we move on. I forgot about this. Again, remember, we're learning together. All right, so Alex Jones just played 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points worth of cards, right? Here's the rules for how you get cards to flip over to the other side. If you play an amount of cards that exceeds their composure, then they flip over to their enraged side, right? But since we only played 8 cards, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 8 points worth of cards, Tim Pool, who has an 8 composure, he's pretty steady. He doesn't flip out. He doesn't flip out to his enraged side, so he stays. His composure is fine, and he moves on to his turn properly with his ability still intact on this side. You'll notice sometimes abilities will be on one side, but you won't have abilities on the other. But your stats will also change, and also your wheelhouse will change. So there's some strategy to when to cause an opponent to flip, if you can. If he had had a card that costed 1, he could have played 1 more card, and he would have caused Tim Pool there to flip out. He would have pissed him off a little bit, and he would have flipped off to his enraged side. Now, here's the cool part about that. You can choose if you like, right? If your opponent is already enraged, you can choose to either unenrage yourself, right? To flip yourself from enraged back to not enraged. Or you can choose to have your opponent flip himself from, you're using diplomacy at that point. So if you have an opponent that is already enraged and you do that same composure damage to him, you can choose to have him flip back, or you can flip your own guy back. So that's where the tug of war starts happening with the game. In this case, nobody flipped out yet, so we're moving on straight on to the second turn here. So we've got a sentence that has already begun being built here. Tim can choose to start his own sentence next door here, or he can add to yours and take control of it. Those are his options. In this case, let's see what Tim's got in his hands, and then we'll decide what we want to do with it. He's got some cards here. Okay, so he's got an aggression of 8. That's a perfect thing. Here's what Tim Pool's going to choose to do during his turn. All right, so we're going to do this from his perspective, right? Tim Pool is going to decide with his 8 points that he can pay for his 8 balls. Waiting there for a second, wanted the joke to catch. Anyway, so he's paying for his 8 balls. He's gonna put down on this argument here, argue and word salad. Now here's the fun part. If you read through this, we've got a sentence here. Joe Biden cyborg seeks to argue word salad. You see how this works so far? Pretty clever, I think. I thought it was anyway. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just stupid. Anyway, so seeks to argue word salad. So one of the benefits from what he's just done is the controller of the argument is the one who wins the debate at the end of when both players have run out of cards in their hand. The debate is over. All right? That is just one phase of a multi-phase game. But in this case, we're probably going to get 1.5 phases, it looks like, because they've only got 15 cards in their deck. Now, because we use a life deck system in this, but it's modified. When you use up your last cards drawn into your hand, you don't get any more, but you have 1 more turn to win the game. All right? And he who has the most cards left in their hand or in their deck at the end of the game wins the game. So that's the point of it, is you're trying to eliminate your opponent's cards while retaining your own. And this is how this works, right? So right now, Tim Pool has just taking control of this sentence. So all the work we put into this right here has been nullified by him putting down that word salad and that argue card. Now this sentence now belongs to him. He is now winning the argument. But because it goes back and forth, as arguments tend to do, things could change. So we're going back, and he has spent all of his balls. He has left none of his balls unspent. The joke came back. Damn it. All right, anyway. It's a shame if you have... I'm not going to get into unspent balls. We're not going to get into unspent balls. We're not going to get into that. Keep your minds out of the gutter. I tell myself daily. That's what I have to tell myself daily. All right, so we've got a situation here. Oh, no, Alex Jones started to panic. He didn't get flipped out because he spent 8, right? Alex Jones' composure is 5. Holy crap, Alex got mad. He just flipped out at the end of that turn. Over to his enraged side. Lucky for Alex, Alex has his ability on his enraged side because the man is like the Hulk. You get him pissed off, that's when he starts doing stuff, right? Am I right? Am I right? That's when shit starts happening. Let's read Alex's side here. Once per debate, if you just played at least 2 cards in a chain, draw 5 cards from the top of your deck. Pick one and add it to your chain. Return 4 cards from your hand to the top of your deck in any order. All right, I'm going to read that again. If you just played at least 2 cards in a chain, now a chain is what we did here. So Tim Pool would have had a chain of 2 cards. Alex Jones would have had a chain of 3 cards. So that's what a chain is. If you just played at least 2 cards in a chain, draw 5 cards from the top of your deck, pick one, and add it to your chain. Return 4 cards from your hand to the top of your deck in any order. So, Tim Pool might not want to piss off Alex. That's a pretty good ability. He gets to draw an extra card. And he gets to choose 4 more cards and potentially change the dynamics of the situation. The only problem is he doesn't have to use any of those cards until his next turn. So there's the downside. In this case, we've still got this problem where Tim Pool's getting uppity. He thinks he's going to take over this argument. I got to start arguing here a little bit better. What do I have to do here? Joe Biden seeks to argue word salad. Dang. I don't think he can really take that over and still retain the meaning of that sentence. See, here's where the strategy starts coming in. But we might be able to. Let's take a look here what we got here. So Jugblade and Cyborg seeks to argue word salad. Right. All right, so Alex has got a plan. He can spend 11 now points worth of cards. And he's gonna do this. He's gonna put down a right on this one. So Joe Biden, Cyborg, seeks to argue word salad right. Not quite making sense, but it still might. It's leaving it open to interpretation. But the bonus of that is he's now retained control of that argument, but he's going to do a little side maneuver here because he's got 11 points and he's used 2, so he's got 9 points left. We're going to put down DOJ threaten. We're going to add an S to this and make it. We're going to add a suffix to it. We're going to make it threatens, and then we're going to put down Hunter Biden. So we've started ourselves a second argument here next to the first one, and my phone just went black. Hang on a second. We're working on this. I don't know what just happened. We'll figure it out. All right, so turn that back on. All right, there we go. Flip that back over. Is this working? There we are. We're back. All right, so as you can see, you can have multiple arguments running at the same time during a debate. And now Alex Jones is sitting pretty here. Now he has done 3 cards in a row. He can use his special ability, which he's going to do right now. If you just played at least 2 cards in a chain, we just played at least 2 cards in the chain. This first one here, he wouldn't have been able to use his ability on. He would have just been able to drop that card, and then he wouldn't have been able to use it. But he's strategizing here. He's thinking his way through. So he's going to drop these 3 cards here, and he's going to draw. What does it say here? Draw 5 cards from the top of his deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Luckily, it's his last 5 cards. Oh, look at that. So he's got cards here. Now, he's got some more cards here. He's got a Bill Gates. He's got a Joe Biden. He's got a names. He's got a COVID-19. Right? He's got a few things he can do. Now, we haven't gone into this because the basic game doesn't really get into the wheelhouses all that much. And how the wheelhouses would normally work, I think it's mostly for the advanced game. However, I haven't completely decided. I think I might integrate it into the basic game. I just need input. That's what I need. I need data. Anyway, how these work, the wheelhouses are supposed to work is if you have that symbol here, as you notice if he has a wheelhouse symbol here and your card that you're going to play has that also, you would get a -1 to cost and a +1 to the points at the end of the round. All right? That's how the wheelhouses work. Now, here's the fun part. If you've got a card that has multiple wheelhouses and you have multiple wheelhouses that match it, you get an additional for each one of those wheelhouses that match. I haven't decided whether or not for the basic game. I want to keep the basic game as basic as possible. So right now, the basic game is literally just about learning how to play the words. Play the game with the words. That's all we're doing right now. So we're not paying attention to the wheelhouses, though I did mention them earlier. And I'm getting a toe cramp that is really starting to piss me off right now. But give me a sec here. All right. Anyway. Oh, boy. Yeah. I don't think I'm dehydrated. I just drank a bunch of water. Hang on a second. Oh, all right. All right. So back to the game, though. So it's Alex Jones has just played. What did he play? It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's played 10 points on the board. He now has control over both of these arguments, and he's divided the attentions of Mr. Tim Pool here, who got pissed off by that and has flipped over to his enraged side. And you'll notice Tim Pool has lost his ability on that side. So now Tim Pool is angry. He still has those cards, but the good news is his aggression has now gone up from an 8 to a 10. I guess that's good news because it's his turn now. And we haven't finished our turn over here. We have to do something yet still. We draw 5 cards from the top of the deck, pick one and add it to your chain. So this chain here gets a card added to it right away from the 5 cards that we just pulled. All right, so here's the fun part. Proper nouns are fun to deal with in this game. They get real easy. You can add a suffix to them that makes them plural, but it could also mean it makes them possessive. In this case, we're gonna go crazy and use this really high point card when it's gonna be tough for me to play later on, and we're gonna drop it right now. And we're gonna add a suffix to Hunter Biden here so that the sentence thus becomes DOJ threatens Hunter Biden's COVID-19. It has no end on that one yet. It hasn't made a complete sentence, but it's definitely on the way there. Then we have to take 4 cards from my hand and return them to the top of the deck in any order. So what do I want to do here? I'm strategizing what I want to do here. Oh, I don't know if they're salvaging anything. He can't salvage this sentence. It's going to end up, oh boy. Joe Biden cyborg seeks to argue word salad right, but I need a specific type of word, and I'm not getting anything here. I don't think I can salvage that one. So that was not a priority, but this one here I might be able to salvage. DOJ threatens Hunter Biden's COVID-19. Just needs 1 card. Now you can use commas and you can use any type of. So, for instance, if we had a DOJ threatens Hunter Biden's COVID-19, comma, you could do a sentence like that. You can add suffixes, and into the sentences you can also add punctuation to make them make sense if you need to. That's another one of the rules for that's the punctuation rule. Anyway, so suffixes have a rule, punctuation has a rule. You kind of have to generally know how to make a sentence. So you're expected to have basically an elementary school education. I didn't want to go further than that, but you don't necessarily need to. It's to help people also to learn how to make proper sentence structure. And then also, I wanted an element of kind of like, you know, how people used to come up with words for Scrabble and then they would argue for days of whether or not that was really a word. I kind of want that to happen with this game too. I want people to argue, that's not a real sentence. No, that's definitely a real sentence. I definitely earned the points on that. I want people to engage like that. I want them to argue over the game about arguing. In this case, I need to get rid of 4 cards. And okay, so we're going to keep those 2, and which means I think I want to get rid of these 4 here. And those go back onto the top of my deck there, and we're going to hold that in the hand. Just like that. So that's how that works. All right, so now that would be the end of this turn. Tim Pool is now pissed off, and it's now his turn, and he has 10 points that he can spend to regain control of potentially both of these arguments. And we're getting close to the point where it's starting to get scary for both players. Tim's got a little bit more of an advantage right now. So, like I said, going first isn't always the best option. Sometimes going second is probably a better option. But because it's asymmetric, it kind of hopefully it balances out sometimes. Some characters will do better on first turns. Some characters will do better on second turns. Some characters will do better when they're enraged. Some people do better when they're calm. It takes into account asymmetric gameplay. I wanted that to be very, very different and varied. You don't know what's going to happen next. It's kind of the idea. So, but we have this here. He's got 10 points he has to play. Oh, I'm sorry, he doesn't have. Now, okay, so you notice we're not really drawing any more cards because that's how a round works. The retention only comes in at the beginning of a debate, and a debate is the whole thing. So this is an entire debate. A round is called a turn, I guess, or a round or something like. I think I had something that I mentioned. It was discard phase. A phase. It would be a phase. Play phase, alternate turns. Yeah, it'd be a phase. So the one round would be one phase, and then back and forth until the debate is over, and then that's when the tally comes at the end of the debate. So we're making arguments. This is the argument phase, I guess you could call it. I think that's what I actually did call it. The argument phase. Something like that. It's in the rule book. We're learning together. So Simple's turn. He's got 10 aggression that he can pay to try to get control over these things here. So he's got Joe Biden seeks to argue word salad right. All right. Tim wants this. He wants this big pile of points right here, and he wants them. He wants them to be his, and he wants them to make sense because we'll get into the tally phase. It is beneficial for you to make sentences that make sense by the end, and I'll just leave it at that. So right now he's fighting for this one. He's got 10 points right here that he's going to play. He's going to play them right here. We're going to use his perspective for these, so they're going to be going upside down like this. So we've got Joe Biden seeks to argue word salad, right? We're going to add a comma once we control it with project. here, he's going to add a comma between those. So it's going to be Joe Biden seeks to argue word salad, comma, left project, we're adding a suffix, J6 grand jury. And with that, we have ourselves a sentence that is relatively complete. Like a headline, almost, you could say. How interesting. And that was his card play. He played that to take control over this sentence, and he ignored this one in the hopes that he's going to outpoint Alex Jones here, and also that Alex can't add any more to that and make it make sense. But Alex isn't completely out of options with that. Alex has 2 cards left. Alex has to play 1 card or the game he passes. If he passes, Tim Pool would then have the chance to pass himself, and the argument that debate will be over. Once both players consecutively pass, the debate phase is over, and then you do the tally. So he has to keep at least 1 card in play, or he passes and risks giving up the game, in this case, because he's got a massive amount of points there. So Alex Jones is kind of in a rough spot. He has to do something, and he has to do it smart. And he's got 2 options here. He could put he can't give up that fight there. He can't give up that fight. Because if he gives up that fight, he moves to this one. He loses by 3 points. If he gives up that fight completely and goes for this fight. But at least it's less of a loss. And then he's looking at how many cards the opponent has in his hand. So here's where the strategy comes in. Now I have to figure out what he's going to do. So what we're going to do here is we might sabotage this sentence. We might do that because we can do that with a card. So what we have here is Joe Biden seeks to argue word salad, comma, right projects J6 grand jury. We're going to sabotage it for the moment. But keeping, should I sabotage it? Sabotage it? Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to sabotage it by paying 6 points to put Bill Gates here. Now, it could be, because it's a proper noun, it can be recycled, but it's less, there's a reason why we did that. Because we want to put this card here and finish off a sentence there. So DOJ threatens Hunter Biden's COVID-19 names. Kind of makes sense. It's absurd, but it is a sentence technically. So that would be something that sort of makes sense. On the other hand, we have over here, Joe Biden cyborg seeks to argue word salad, comma, right project. Now he also can removes the comma, makes it not make sense anymore, but he can just bring it back if he controls it again, but it doesn't matter. So left projects J6 grand jury, Bill Gates. We could actually technically add a comma after grand jury for Bill Gates, and it's the beginning of another leg of that sentence. So we'll see what Tim has in store for us. And Alex Jones is out of cards. He's done. But if he just played at least 2 cards in the chain, it says once per debate. Oh, he can't use it again. I might change that one for him. I've been thinking about the once per debate stuff, and I think maybe to add more chaos, we let him do it every time. I don't know. I need data. Anyway, so let's see what Tim has in opposition to what we're going on. He's got 3 cards left in his hand. He definitely has enough to sabotage this, and he's probably going to do that. So it's not looking good for Alex. Alex didn't really have much of an option. I think he overplayed. But this is how it works sometimes. That's how it works. Why sometimes getting multiple arguments out on the board at the same time is very beneficial. Because if you're fighting over one, the person with the last card is going to win it. So he did the best he could. Now, here's what we got to do here. Now, here's the thing. It might not be the best idea for Tim to win both of these arguments. He might want to go for more points, but generally speaking, he's probably going to want to take both of them, control of both of them anyway. So he's going to want at least to have one. His strategy is going to be to have one that gets big points and then sabotage the other one somehow. So let's see what we got here. Joe Biden seeks to argue word salad, comma, right projects J6 grand jury, comma, Bill Gates Tim's making a decision here. He's going to go for a big sentence because he can make it happen. Again, like Scrabble. Sometimes you get those things, you get those weird freaking words that pop up. In this case, we got a weird sentence that popped out. So what we have right now is Joe Biden seeks to. Oh wait, we should do this before that because his composure is 7. We played a lot. So I could choose to flip him or keep him. X Jones would choose to. He's going to choose to flip Tim Pool back over to his calm side. Even though he knows that Tim Pool has an ability. The reason I'm doing that is to show off Tim Pool's ability. Also to show off some of the nuances of how you can change things around in this game and kind of give your opponent a buff, give him a debuff, kind of things. The board is constantly changing. So he's flipping him over because he spent enough to do it. It's Tim Pool's turn. And Tim Pool has an ability. We're going to read that real quick. I'm going to bring up the camera here. Once per debate, pick a card from the table previously played in an argument and add it to any argument to gain control. This argument becomes a steel man. Discard 2 cards from hand or deck. All right, so that helps when you're in a situation where you've had a lot of sabotage going on with your arguments. I don't know if that helps him all that much in this argument because he has to discard 2 cards from his hand or from his deck. Well, he could choose to take it from the deck. Pick a card from table previously played in an argument. Do we have any cards previously played in an argument? Yes, we do. We have all these cards to choose from on the board here. And add it to any argument to gain control. This argument becomes a steel man. Discard 2 cards from hand or deck. All right. The first thing he's going to do is he's going to take threaten from this argument. He's going to use his ability. This one should be a once per debate. This one definitely should be a once per debate. I just realized how powerful this is. All right. Anyway, so and add it to any argument to gain control. So he can add it to this argument again, and he gains control, and it becomes a steel man, but only for him. Which means that if Alex Jones, who doesn't have control over it again, I think that's a good plan. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to add that to this one. So it switched from there to there. And it now he gains control. Actually, we should do that to symbolize that he's got control over it. So he gets control over that one by using his special ability. In this case, it would have been a better idea to probably leave him alone and not flip him over. You see how the dynamics of that changed a little bit? We thought we were getting an advantage because he would have less cards to play, but in this case, it doesn't matter because he just did his little special ability and it negated that and gave an additional buff that is pretty substantial. So back to this sentence here, we've got Joe Biden seeks to argue word salad, comma, right projects J6 grand jury, comma, Bill Gates backs mugshot war. And we got ourselves a full sentence. That's crazy shit. All right. So now we are at I know it got a little weird there with the sentence. So we got ourselves a crazy ass sentence here. We got a crazy ass sentence here. And Alex Jones is out of cards. He can't do anything. He has to pass. And now Tim Pool is out of cards. He also has to pass. There is no rule that says you have to use all your cards during that when you pass. You can pass before you use all your cards. The bonus of that is you get to retain those cards potentially in the next debate, which would be the following round before the game is finished. So in this case, though, they both used up both their hands, and we've got ourselves two arguments here that both belong to Tim Pool, at which point we add up the total and we find out who the winner of this argument was. It's obviously Tim Pool wins the argument because he has control over both of these. Now, here's where the points come into it. If you have a steel man argument, which is a sentence that makes sense generally, even regardless of how absurd it is, you get the full value of the points on these cards. So the point box is the second one. Those are what this sentence would be worth. That's what this sentence will be worth, right? If it is a straw man, you only get 1 point per card regardless of what the point box says. Just to make that clear. Now, we were talking about wheelhouses before. The additional point you get for having a wheelhouse that matches, or multiple points that you get for wheelhouses that match. Those would count. Those would count for both. I think that's what I ruled on, but I might change that. We're still working out some of the dynamics. I'm not positive. I think that might be too much of an advantage. Or if anything, I might lower it down to just a +1. Because you could literally have a character that has like 6 wheelhouses, have a card that plays 6 and get an additional +6 points for it, regardless of the sentence makes sense or not. But it does add an additional chaos element to it, another randomized factor. But in this case, we don't have to worry about that. We're just doing straight up points. So, all right. So he wins both of these. He has control over both of these. Only one of these sentences makes sense, but to him, the second sentence also makes sense. So he gets full points for both of these sentences. And we're going to say this, right? Here's how it would normally go if you used a full deck. You would count up all the points that you won. In this case, you would have a 2, 4. That's 20 for this one right here. 20 for him for right there. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong one. Sorry. 3, 6. 21. 21 for this one. And then 23, 24, 30, 34. It's going to be 40 for this one. That was a big one. All right, so 40 plus 21 is 61 points. This is a bad thing because you've only got these little 15 card decks, right? Here's how this works. You count up the points for the sentences that make sense. We just got lucky in this case. Most of the time you can sabotage that shit. And I wasn't playing the smartest with it. I just kind of wanted to give you an example of how to do it. Seriously, you don't want to tap out you don't want to tap out the full aggression. You want to pace yourself because who has the last card is going to be the advantage. And there was no reason why at the beginning of the game, him having a 1-card advantage, that he wouldn't have had an opportunity to come out ahead. Do you see how that works? But we just speed ran it just to get to the end. And he got terribly freaking clobbered with 61 points. Here's how this would work. If you had a 60-card deck, right? Which I believe 60 card is the number I used for the decks, or was it 50? I might have said 50 cards. I think it might be 50. Again, we're learning together. I'll have to look it up. But we're just doing basics. I'll do some research. I got to read through this again before I do the advanced game anyway, because there's some tricky stuff that goes on with the advanced game that doesn't happen with the basic game. This is just simply the basic game. So in this case, he loses by 61 points, which he would have to do this then. Take from his deck or from his hand, because he might still have cards in his hand, and you take and you sacrifice 60 cards. Or, in the case that he had some points on the board himself, he would subtract the highest point from the lowest point, and that would be the amount that he would lose. But in this case, he just got completely obliterated. He has to discard the rest of his deck, and the game is over, and Tim Pool has won the argument. And we can clap for Tim. He did a good job. He did a great job. Of course, nobody was really playing up to the best ability. We were just going through the mechanics of it to show you this is how you make the sentences. You can plan these out in the head. That's what you're supposed to do. You want to only pace yourself. And then for like a last amount, like if you see something where you're strategically in place, you see your opponent has 3 arguments on the board, right? He's got 2 cards left in his hand. You've got a couple cards in your hand, right? See, you've got 2 cards left in your hand. He's got 2 cards in his hand. You've got 3 arguments on the board. You place one of those cards down on one of those arguments. It gives him the choice. Which one do I put it at? Do I fight for that argument with one of my cards? Or do I have to go over to these other arguments and keep working on those ones? There's a ton of stuff you can do with this. You don't have any limit on the amount of additional arguments you can start during a debate. So I literally could have, instead of focusing on one and fighting over the one ego argument, I could have probably been setting down little tiny arguments out here on the side, secondary arguments, and win with the secondary arguments over, and then at the last minute sabotage a big argument. So you can see where the strategy comes in with that. Asymmetric gameplay. This is the basic game. We went through the basic game. And Alex Jones got his butt kicked. Sorry, Alex. I don't know. Is he still pissed? Maybe we just keep him on the pissed off side. Maybe he got drunk. He just kind of waddled home, and they had to go. And then he said, Timber's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna give him a call and see if he's okay. We meet him back already." If you stayed long enough in this video to hear that, and you know where it came from, put a message in. I don't know. I don't normally solicit messages, but let me know. Anyway, with that, since it's been like a little while here, how much time? It's been an hour and 17 minutes. Yeah. I'm going to call it quits. And then next week, we'll go into the advanced game maybe, if I got time. I might need a little bit more time for that. And I got to read the rule book again. I wrote this, by the way. I just want everyone to know that I wrote this whole thing. And I don't remember the damn thing at all. Welcome to my world, man. Instilling confidence with every sentence. Irony. Anyway, I'm out of here. You guys have a good one. Hope this was educational and informative. Or whatever the hell this thing was. I'm out. Bye-bye. I'm hitting the button. Bye-bye. Later.